Princess Serenia of the Aurelian Star Empire stood on the balcony of her palace, looking down at the glowing capital city. Tall crystal towers stretched toward the sky, shining with soft blue light. The air was calm, but her heart was not. She knew that within a few hours, everything about her life would change. She was leaving her homeworld and traveling to Earth. She was going there to marry a human she had never met. Serenia had trained all her life to serve her people. Her family believed she was born with a peaceful spirit, something rare in a species that valued strength and sharp minds. Aurelians were known across the galaxy for their intelligence and for the cold elegance they showed even in war. But Serenia was different. Since childhood she had believed that peace was not a weakness. For years, her voice had been ignored, until the war between the Aurelians and humans came too close to destroying both sides. Serenia's father, High Emperor Talrien, had finally agreed to peace talks. Earth had also agreed. But the two governments understood that simple words would not be enough to stop the hatred that was slowly growing. It needed something strong, something symbolic, something that could tie their two worlds together in a way no treaty ever could. A diplomatic marriage. And Serenia had been chosen. She heard soft footsteps behind her. Turning slowly, she saw her mother, Empress Lyran, standing in the doorway. The Empress looked calm as always, but Serenia noticed the tension in her shoulders. "It is time," her mother said gently. Serenia nodded, though her heart felt heavy. She followed her mother through long glass corridors, passing guards dressed in shimmering armor. They saluted her with silent respect. They all knew the weight she carried. Some admired her courage, others believed she was making a mistake. Aurelians had fought humans for almost a century. Many could not imagine trusting them, much less marrying one. Her mother walked beside her without speaking. It was a long walk to the courtyard, where the royal ship waited. Finally, as they approached the wide silver landing platform, her mother stopped and placed a hand on her arm. "You are brave," she said, "and your bravery will protect more lives than any weapon." Serenia tried to smile, but the sadness in her chest made it difficult. "I hope my choice brings peace." "Truly, it will," the Empress whispered. "I believe it." They embraced gently. Aurelians rarely showed physical affection, but today was different. Today Serenia was leaving not just her home, but her old identity. She was no longer just a princess. She was the key to peace. When she stepped onto the ship, the ramp lifted behind her. She took a deep breath as the vessel rose into the sky. She watched her world grow smaller through the window until it was only a glowing blue sphere surrounded by stars. She whispered to herself, "Whatever happens, I must be strong." The journey to Earth took several days. During that time, Serenia studied everything she could about human culture. Humans seemed chaotic compared to Aurelians. They laughed loudly, cried easily, celebrated small victories, and argued over simple things. Their emotions were open and bright, like fire. Sometimes messy, sometimes beautiful. But there was something else she learned, something that unsettled her. Humans did not give up. Even when facing impossible odds, they kept fighting. Historian records showed humans surviving disasters that would have destroyed other species. They had a strange ability to rise after every fall. Some scholars believed this trait made them dangerous. Others believed it made them trustworthy allies. Serenia didn't know which was true. She hoped she would find the answer when she met her future husband. His name was Commander Nathan Hale. He was not a prince, not a noble, not a political leader. He was a military commander, known for his calm leadership in battles. Serenia wondered if he would be cold and stern like most soldiers she had met, or something different. When the ship finally reached Earth's orbit, she saw the planet for the first time. It was beautiful, with oceans covering most of the surface. The deep blues of the water mixed with the bright green continents and swirling white clouds. It felt alive, warm, full of movement. Her ship was cleared for landing at the United Earth Embassy base. Serenia stood near the hatch, her hands clasped behind her, trying to appear calm and regal. Her heart beat steadily, like a quiet drum. The doors opened. She stepped out into the sunlight, and the warm air touched her skin. Human soldiers stood in formation. their uniforms dark and simple compared to Aurelian ceremonial attire. Their faces looked serious, yet curious. They had never seen someone like her before. At the center of the group stood a tall human man with short dark hair, steady brown eyes, and a calm expression. He wore no helmet, no heavy armor, only formal military attire. When he saw her, he stepped forward. "Nathan Hale." He bowed slightly, a gesture respectful but not submissive. "Princess Serenia," he said, his voice steady. "Welcome to Earth. I am honored to meet you." His tone surprised her. It was warm, clear, and strangely gentle. She had expected a hard-edged warrior. Instead, she sensed calm strength, something honest. She lowered her head in a graceful Aurelian greeting. "Commander Hale, I am grateful for your welcome." For a moment, they simply looked at each other. It was not an uncomfortable silence, but a curious one. She sensed he was studying her carefully, not judging but trying to understand her. A human official stepped forward and introduced the groups, but Serenia's attention remained on Nathan. She noticed he kept a respectful distance, not too close, not too formal. He seemed to understand her uneasiness without her saying a word. As they walked toward the embassy building, Nathan matched his pace to hers. The gesture was small, but meaningful. Aurelians valued subtlety, and this small action told her more about him than any report she had read. Inside the embassy, they were led to a private meeting room. Nathan waited until the door closed before speaking. "I know this is not easy for you," he said. "It isn't easy for me either. But I promise you this. I will do everything I can to make sure your stay on Earth is safe and comfortable." Serenia appreciated the honesty. She studied his face. Humans had more expressive features than her people. She could see tiredness under his eyes, perhaps from long nights preparing for the treaty work, but there was also determination, a quiet kind of strength. "Thank you," she said softly. "It means much to me." He nodded, then offered a faint smile. "We don't have to pretend to be perfect partners from the start. We only need to work together. Peace is worth the effort." Serenia felt a small wave of relief. He was practical, respectful, calm. She could work with someone like him. For the next several hours, they discussed cultural customs, living arrangements, and upcoming diplomatic events. Nathan listened carefully to everything she said. Whenever she asked a question, he answered patiently. When she spoke about Aurelian traditions, he didn't laugh or react with surprise. He simply absorbed the information thoughtfully. She began to see him not as a symbol of humanity, but as a person. In the evening, Nathan walked her to the guest quarters that had been prepared for her. Before she entered, he paused. "There will be pressure on us," he said, "from both sides. Some people don't want peace. Some think humans and Aurelians can never trust each other." Serenia understood immediately. "You fear sabotage." "Yes," he said quietly. "And I fear you may face danger because of it." She looked into his eyes. "I chose this path, knowing the risks." Nathan nodded, admiration flickering briefly across his face. "You're stronger than most people realize." Serenia felt warmth touch her chest at those words, though she did not show it on her face. "I think the same about you," she replied. He smiled, then small, but real. "Good night, Princess." "Good night, Commander." When the door closed behind her, Serenia walked slowly to the large window of her room. Earth's city lights spread out below like a field of stars on the ground. She pressed her hand to the glass, feeling both fear and hope mixing inside her. She whispered to herself, "Maybe humans and Aurelians are not so different. Maybe peace is truly possible." But as she stood there, a shadow moved in the distant sky. A small, unmarked ship drifted silently across the horizon, invisible to human sensors. A rogue Aurelian signal pulsed from it. Serenia did not know yet, but danger was already near. The next morning on Earth began peacefully. Soft sunlight entered Princess Serenia's room as she opened her eyes. The sky outside held warm shades of gold and pink, very different from the cooler blue light of her home world. She walked to the window and watched the early movement of people and vehicles far below. Earth seemed busy even at dawn. Humans lived quickly, she thought. They moved with purpose even when tired. Her thoughts soon shifted to the diplomatic meetings scheduled for the day. Nathan had promised to guide her through each event. She was nervous but also curious. She wanted to understand how humans made decisions and how their leaders behaved in discussions. After preparing herself in formal Aurelian attire, she stepped into the corridor, where 2 human guards were waiting. They stood straight, alert, and respectful. One of them nodded to her. "Commander Hale is waiting for you in the briefing room," he said. Serenia thanked him and began walking. The embassy felt different in the morning, less tense, more alive. People moved with calm confidence, aware that today was important for the future of both civilizations. When she entered the briefing room, she saw Nathan standing beside a large display screen. His uniform was perfectly arranged. But Serenia noticed something new. He looked slightly tired, as if he had spent many hours awake. Nathan saw her and gave a gentle smile. "Good morning, Princess. I hope you rested well." "I did," she replied. "But you seem to have rested less," he chuckled softly. Diplomacy keeps the mind busy. And so does planning for a visit aboard an Aurelian ship. Serenia tilted her head slightly. "We are visiting my people's vessel today?" "That was the original plan," Nathan said. "A joint peace summit. Your father's delegation arrived late last night in orbit." Serenia felt a brief rush of excitement. She had not seen anyone from her world since leaving. But the excitement was mixed with worry. The tension between factions in the Empire was growing. Nathan must have noticed her expression shift because his face softened. "If you don't feel ready, we can delay," he said. "No," she answered firmly. "I must show them confidence. The peace must not look uncertain." Nathan nodded. "Then we go together." They spent the next hour reviewing what topics the summit would cover: resource trade, border security, cultural exchange, and social cooperation. Nathan explained each human proposal in clear, simple terms. Serenia appreciated that he never assumed she would already know everything. He treated her as an equal partner. When the time came, the 2 of them walked to the shuttle bay. A small transport ship waited, engines humming quietly. As they stepped inside, Serenia felt her heart beat faster. She wasn't afraid of space travel, but she was nervous about meeting Aurelian leaders in the presence of humans. Nathan noticed her unease. "If anything feels uncomfortable, just signal me. I will handle it." His calm tone steadied her. "I trust you," she said quietly. The shuttle lifted off, breaking through the atmosphere. The sky darkened, and stars appeared like tiny white sparks against the blackness of space. Ahead, the Aurelian flagship came into view, a massive vessel, with smooth silver curves and glowing blue lines that traced patterns across its hull. It looked elegant, almost like a floating piece of art. As the shuttle approached the docking bay, Serenia felt a mix of pride and worry. Her people were brilliant engineers, but they could also be extremely rigid in attitude. She hoped the delegation was prepared to welcome humans peacefully. They disembarked into a bright, spacious corridor. Aurelian officers stood in formal lines. Their silver uniforms reflected the lights in soft glimmers. Serenia recognized several faces, including Councillor Varian, a stern man known for his strict views. Councillor Varian bowed to Serenia, but barely glanced at Nathan. "Princess, we welcome you home, even if only for a short time." Serenia kept her posture straight. "Thank you, Counselor. Earth has treated me with respect." Nathan gave a polite nod, though Varian did not acknowledge it. Serenia felt irritation rise within her, but said nothing. Today was supposed to represent unity. The summit room was wide and filled with floating display screens. Representatives from both civilizations took their seats. Serenia sat between Nathan and Councillor Varian, trying to maintain calm in the tense atmosphere. Discussions began with standard topics: food distribution programs, science cooperation, medical aid projects. At first, everything seemed to go smoothly, though Serenia noticed Varian constantly watching Nathan with a cold expression. Nathan remained calm, responding only when needed. He spoke with clarity and patience, never showing frustration. But during a break, Serenia sensed something strange. A faint vibration in the floor, an energy pulse too low for human hearing, but detectable to an Aurelian like her. Her eyes narrowed. Nathan saw her expression change. Something wrong? Before she could answer, a sudden alarm echoed through the vessel. The lights flickered red. Officers rushed to stations. A sealed door dropped immediately between them and one of the hallways. Counselor Varian turned sharply toward Serenia. "This is an attack on our summit. Someone has fired on the ship," but Serenia shook her head. She recognized the vibration. "No. This came from inside. Someone sabotaged us." Nathan instantly switched from diplomat to soldier. His posture straightened, and his eyes sharpened with focus. "Where is the blast point?" An Aurelian officer responded, panic in his voice. "Engineering section. Systems failing on deck 10. Nathan didn't hesitate. He grabbed a medical kit from the wall, strapped it to his belt, and looked at Serenia. "Stay here. Stay safe." But Serenia stepped forward. "No. I am coming with you." "You shouldn't. This could be dangerous." "I am not a child," she said firmly. "And if this is internal sabotage, I may be able to identify who planned it." Nathan studied her for a moment. He knew she would not back down. Finally, he nodded. "Stay behind me. Stay behind me." They moved quickly down the corridors, following the emergency lights. Smoke drifted from vents. Sparks burst from hanging wires. A security door tried to close but jammed halfway. The air smelled of burning metal. As they reached deck 10, the damage became clear. A section of the hallway was torn open, exposing pipes and circuits. Officers lay injured on the floor. Others tried to put out small fires. Nathan rushed to one of the wounded without hesitation. He knelt beside an Aurelian soldier, whose arm was badly burned. Serenia watched as Nathan used the medical kit with practiced ease, calming the soldier and stabilizing the injury. Even in chaos, he remained steady. An Aurelian guard watched him in shock. "You are helping us?" Nathan didn't look up. "In a crisis, we're on the same side." The guard stared, confused but moved. Serenia felt something shift inside her as she watched. She had read reports about human bravery, but seeing it was different. Nathan acted with instinctive compassion, without thinking about politics or species. He simply helped because someone needed help. Suddenly, another explosion shook the deck. The lights dimmed. Nathan grabbed Serenia's arm gently but firmly. "We need to move. The sabotage isn't finished." They turned into another corridor and hurried toward the secondary control room. But before they reached it, 3 Aurelian rebels stepped out from behind a damaged bulkhead. Their uniforms bore no official insignia. Their faces were covered by metallic masks. One of them pointed a weapon. "Princess Serenia, you should not be here." Nathan pushed Serenia slightly behind him and stood firm. "Identify yourselves." The rebel ignored him. "The treaty weakens us. The humans are not partners. They are threats. We will end this alliance before it begins." Serenia felt her heart tighten. "You are endangering innocent lives. This is not strength." The rebel aimed his weapon at Nathan. "And humans do not belong on our ships." Before the rebel could fire, Nathan acted. He moved with incredible speed, grabbing a fallen metal bar from the ground and blocking the shot with a burst of sparks. He pushed Serenia to cover and advanced, keeping the rebels' attention on him. A small firefight erupted between Aurelian security forces and the rebels. Nathan stayed low, guiding Serenia behind a damaged console until the danger passed. When the rebels were subdued, Serenia looked at Nathan with wide eyes. "You could have been hurt." Nathan exhaled slowly. "Better me than you." His voice was quiet but sincere. Serenia felt warmth rise in her chest, stronger than before. The rest of the ship slowly stabilized as security forces regained control. The sabotage team had been small but deadly. They had planned to make the peace summit collapse, Serenia and Nathan returned to the main chamber, both visibly shaken but unharmed. Counselor Varian looked at Serenia with shock. "You survived," he whispered. "She survived," Nathan corrected gently. Serenia stepped forward, lifting her chin. "This attack was not caused by humans. It came from our own rebels, and I will not allow them to destroy the peace we are building." Nathan stood beside her, silent but strong, like a pillar of support. In that moment, despite the chaos, Serenia felt something change between them. She saw Nathan not only as a partner in diplomacy, but as someone who would stand with her through any danger. And she believed more strongly than ever that humanity's strange, fierce spirit might be the very thing that could save both their worlds. The days after the sabotage were heavy with tension. News of the attack spread quickly through both civilizations. Humans blamed a small rebel group. Aurelians blamed the weakness of their internal security. And some people on both sides worried that the peace might fail before it had a chance to grow. Princess Serenia and Commander Nathan Hale had no time to rest. Meetings, reports, security updates, everything demanded their attention. They moved from one task to another, working side by side. The danger they faced on the ship had connected them in a way neither expected. But even as they worked, the galaxy outside continued to shift. The Aurelian rebel faction, angered that their sabotage had failed, began attacking frontier colonies near the border. Human settlements suffered first. Entire families were forced to evacuate. Communications showed rebel ships moving in coordinated lines, not wild attacks. Someone powerful was leading them. Nathan watched the reports with an expression Serenia had not seen before. His calm face was still there. But behind his eyes burned a deep fire, human determination turning into something sharper. Serenia stood beside him in the monitoring room, her fingers pressed together tightly. "These attacks, they are not random. This is a campaign," Nathan nodded. "They're trying to break the treaty before it even begins, and they are using my people to do it," she whispered, pain in her voice. Nathan placed a hand on the table and leaned forward. "We're not going to let them win." She looked at him. Even in crisis, his voice was steady, strong. She wondered how a human could carry so much weight and still stand tall. That night, the United Earth Defense Council held an emergency meeting. Serenia attended beside Nathan, who stood at the center of the room, surrounded by high-ranking humans. Holographic displays showed frontier colonies under attack. A council member spoke sharply. "We can't wait. If we don't respond now, they'll take the whole border." Another added, "If the rebels gain more ships, they may aim toward Earth itself." Nathan stepped forward. "We need to defend the colonies and evacuate civilians. We also need to separate rebel forces from loyal Aurelian fleets. If we treat all Aurelians as enemies, we lose Princess Serenia's world." Serenia appreciated his words. Not many humans trusted her people right now. But Nathan defended them openly. The council agreed to send rapid response teams, not full war fleets. A measured action to stop the rebels without provoking greater conflict. Nathan was chosen to lead the primary task force. Serenia felt her heart tighten. "You are going to the frontier?" Nathan nodded. "They need someone who knows Aurelian tactics." There was silence between them for a moment. Nathan watched her, as if waiting for her to speak. She wanted to tell him not to go, to be careful, to stay safe. But she was a princess of the Aurelian Empire. She knew duty. She could not tell him to avoid his. Instead, she said quietly, "I will monitor your mission from the command center. You won't be alone." Nathan smiled softly, the smallest curve of his lips. "That means more than you know." Hours later, he prepared to depart. Serenia walked with him to the hangar where his ship, the Horizon Spear, waited. Engineers hurried around it, making final adjustments. Nathan fastened his gear and turned to her. "I'll bring everyone home." Serenia nodded. But the worry in her chest felt heavy. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Humans fight fiercely, but promise me you will not throw your life away." Nathan looked at her with surprise, then understanding. "I won't. I know what I'm fighting for." She didn't ask what that was. She already knew. The ship launched, rising into the sky and disappearing into the dark of space. Serenia remained in the hangar long after it was gone, standing still, her heart quietly trembling. The battle reports began 4 hours later. Nathan's task force exited hyperspace near the frontier colony of Helion 3, only to be met by a swarm of rebel Aurelian warships. Their blue energy lines glowed aggressively, forming a net around the colony. Serenia watched through the live tactical stream. She could see Nathan standing on his ship's bridge, giving calm orders, while officers worked frantically around him. The Horizon spear shook as energy fire hit the shields. Evacuation shuttles launched from the colony surface, carrying civilians to safety. But rebel ships fired at them. Serenia's breath caught. "Nathan, don't let them fall." On screen, Nathan raised his voice, sharp and commanding. "Spear Squadron, Formation Delta. Intercept those shots." Human fighters moved like a storm, weaving through enemy fire. They weren't the fastest ships, but the pilots flew with fearless precision. The first shuttle escaped. Then another. The rebels responded by pushing their ships closer. They had numbers. They had firepower. But humans had something else. A refusal to break. Serenia saw the moment everything changed. A rebel dreadnought, a huge, heavily armed warship, began charging its main cannon. If it fired at the colony, the entire settlement would be destroyed. Nathan saw it instantly. He didn't wait for approval. He didn't hesitate. "Bring us in close," he ordered. His officers looked shocked. "Sir, that's suicide range." "Then we don't die," Nathan said calmly. "Move." The Horizon spear shot forward, weaving between enemy fire. Serenia's hands clenched as she watched the ship shake violently. Metal groaned. Sparks flew from panels, but Nathan stood steady, gripping the command rail as if he were anchored to the ground. When they reached the dreadnought's side, Nathan gave another order. "Fire! EMP torpedoes." 2 torpedoes launched. Their electric pulse crawled across the dreadnought's hull. Its charging cannon flickered, then died. A cheer erupted in the human command center on Earth. Serenia exhaled for the first time in minutes. But Nathan wasn't finished. He coordinated strikes from every squadron, directing pilots with precise timing. Every decision he made saved lives. Every risk he took turned the battle a little more in their favor. As the fight continued, more enemy ships fell back. The rebels had expected a confused, slow human response. Instead, they faced a force that fought with impossible determination. Serenia stared at Nathan on the screen. She could see the exhaustion in his face, the sweat on his brow, but his eyes still burned with fierce focus. He wasn't just commanding the battle, he was carrying it. For hours, the fight raged. And then, finally, the last rebel ship retreated into hyperspace. The colony was safe. The command center erupted with relieved voices. Serenia's eyes stung. She didn't understand the feeling at first. It wasn't just relief. It was something deeper. A quiet awe. Nathan had stood against overwhelming numbers and refused to fall. He had fought like humans always did, by rising higher the more the situation tried to crush them. Reports came in of civilian families thanking the task force, of pilots calling Nathan the man who sees victory in the dark, of soldiers saying they would follow him anywhere. Serenia stayed in the monitoring room long after the battle ended. She replayed the footage of Nathan's commands, watching again and again how he faced danger without fear. Her thoughts whispered, almost ashamed to be so open. How does he carry so much? How does a human become stronger when surrounded by chaos? As she watched, she realized something that made her chest tighten. She had married Nathan for peace, for diplomacy, for duty. But somewhere between fear and fire, she had begun to see him differently. Not as a symbol, not as a political partner, but as a man who fought with everything inside him to protect people he didn't even know. A man who could change the course of history with the force of his will. A human who refused to fall even when the galaxy expected him to, and she found herself waiting for him to return. not only as Commander Hale, but as Nathan, her husband, the human whose strength had become something she could no longer ignore. A deep silence covered the battlefield after the clash. The dust had not yet settled, and the air still carried the strange metallic smell that followed heavy energy strikes. Aaron stood in the center of the ruined plain, breathing slowly, as if the entire war had been nothing more than a difficult exercise. His armor was cracked, his face was tired, but his eyes still shone with the same steady resolve that had carried him through every challenge. Leora watched him from a distance, her heart pounding. She had always known he was strong. She had seen hints of it in small moments, in how he moved, how he reacted, and how he spoke with confidence that felt older than his years. But today she had seen something greater, something almost impossible for her people to understand. He had stood like a wall between two empires, refusing to break even when every force was against him. Around them, soldiers of both sides stood frozen. Some stared at Aaron with disbelief, others with fear, but many with a quiet respect that no one had expected. The Arinthian commanders whispered among themselves, unsure whether they had witnessed a miracle or a warning. Aaron finally took a step back and let his arm fall to his side. The energy blades he had fought with vanished as the last of the suit's stored charge faded. His body swayed slightly, exhaustion finally catching him. When Leora rushed toward him, he managed a weak smile. "You made it," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I told you I would," he replied, though his voice trembled now from strain. She held him as he took another slow breath. He had pushed himself far beyond what any human should be capable of, far beyond what any soldier of her world could imagine. The Arinthians had created powerful warriors, but Aaron had fought with something deeper, something that could not be measured by training or technology. The commanders approached. Elder Varun, the oldest among them and the one most resistant to the marriage treaty, stopped a few steps away. His tone carried a mix of awe and disbelief. This is the strength of humanity?" Aaron stood straighter, refusing to bow even in his weakened state. "This is the strength of someone protecting the people he cares about, human or not." Veron looked between Aaron and Leora, then turned to the rest of the council. The old arguments he had clung to for decades now seemed hollow. War had brought nothing but loss, pride had nearly destroyed their future, and a single human warrior had just shown more loyalty and courage than entire fleets. Leora felt Aaron's hand find hers. His grip was firm, as if reminding her he was still there beside her. A quiet warmth spread through her, steadying her emotions. "We were wrong," Varun finally said, addressing the gathered soldiers. "We misjudged humanity. We misjudged this man." Aaron did not react with pride. Instead, he simply nodded once, as if accepting the statement not as praise, but as acknowledgement of truth. The younger commanders stepped forward next. Some placed their weapons on the ground as a sign of acceptance. Others spoke vows to honor the treaty not because they were forced to, but because they had now seen its worth with their own eyes. The Zarin forces, who had launched the attack earlier, also began to withdraw. Their leader, Kethar, approached slowly, carrying a wound across his arm where Aaron had struck him. Even in defeat, his expression showed admiration. "You fight with a spirit rare in any species," Kethar said. "I do not know if peace between us will last, but I see now why she chose you," Aaron answered with calm firmness. "Peace lasts when both sides choose it." Kethar nodded, then gave a respectful salute before turning back to his warriors. Within minutes, the Zarin warships lifted off, leaving the skies quiet once more. As the battlefield slowly emptied, Leora helped Aaron walk toward the medical bay. The ground shook slightly under the retreating ships, and a fading glow reflected off the cracked earth. The long conflict that had haunted both empires seemed lighter now, as if the very air had begun to heal. Aaron leaned on her only lightly, determined not to seem weak, even though he had spent nearly every reserve of strength. Leora guided him inside the healing chamber, letting the medics work as she stayed by his side. "You could have died," she whispered once they were finally alone. Aaron opened his eyes slowly. "Maybe. But if I hadn't acted, all of this would have ended in fire. Peace. Your people. Our future. It was worth fighting for. Her chest tightened with emotion. She had entered the marriage expecting a political agreement, maybe a distant respect at best. She had never expected to find someone who would risk everything for her world. When he was well enough to stand again, the council called them to the great hall. The chamber, shaped from gleaming silver stone, echoed with the voices of high-ranking leaders. This time, however, the atmosphere was different. There was no tension. There was no suspicion. Many looked at Aaron with genuine respect. Elder Varun stepped forward once more. "Aaron of Earth," he said, "your courage today has changed the course of our future. The treaty will stand stronger than before. You have earned a place of honor among us." Aaron bowed his head slightly. "Thank you. But I didn't fight for honor. I fought for peace." Leora stepped beside him, her presence calm and steady. "He fought for a future we can all share," she added. "A future built on trust, not fear." The council members murmured in agreement. Later, when the hall emptied, Aaron and Leora stood at the balcony overlooking the shining city. The sky carried streaks of gold and blue from the setting sun. It was peaceful, calm, and everything the war had almost destroyed. Leora turned to him, her eyes soft. "Do you regret marrying into all this trouble?" Aaron shook his head. "Not for a second." She laughed gently, a sound he had grown to love. "You fought like a storm today. My people will speak about it for generations. Humans don't like to lose," he said with a small grin. "Especially when something important is on the line." "And what was on the line today?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. He looked at her with steady sincerity. "You, your people, our home." Silence settled between them, warm and meaningful. She took his hand, and together they looked at the distant horizon. The wind carried a soft calmness, a reminder that the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, still held beauty worth protecting. As the last light of evening faded, Aaron felt a sense of belonging he had never felt before. He was far from Earth, surrounded by a species once suspicious of him. But he had earned their trust. More importantly, he had earned his place beside Leora. The peace treaty grew stronger in the weeks that followed. Trade routes reopened, joint defense programs were established, and both civilizations began to learn from each other. Aaron trained a new group of Orinthian soldiers, teaching them not only combat skills but also the human spirit that had surprised so many on the battlefield. Sometimes he still felt the weight of responsibility. But with Leora beside him, he never felt alone. She supported him in every challenge, and he gave her the unwavering loyalty that had defined their bond from the beginning. The galaxy, once trembling on the edge of conflict, now looked toward the future with cautious hope. And Aaron, the human who had married into royalty, who had fought like a god of war to protect peace, became a legend among both species. But to Leora, he remained something even greater. He was her partner, her chosen, her peace in a world once full of storm. And when she stood beside him on the balcony of their new home, watching the stars spread across the night sky, she felt certain of one thing. Their story was only the beginning.